Hey everybody, welcome back to Roadside Nuggets. I am George Van Earth here today with you all, here to express the insanity we're all going through. I don't know how everyone's doing out there, but definitely these are the high times that everything you are aware of, that you have mastered, that you have worked on, that you have cultivated as a skill, they come in these moments and it's in full blown swing. I'm telling you right now, these energies are going to keep climbing. They keep climaxing. I even myself have been having a lot of issues the last couple of days in these energies and just really staying stable. And as a very stable person, I am very aware that this is going to give a lot of beings on this planet a lot of just a push. It's definitely gonna press you. It's gonna test you in so many different ways. What I've been experiencing like since yesterday has been the only thing I can really call it is like it's literally a total like system meltdown, literally. And it was interesting. Like I was sitting with Jerry for most of the day, and it was so healing. Just really just being able to express and release and being able to be vulnerable in those ways to get a lot of things off my chest that just roam around all the time in my head. And it was so relieving to find a safe place to give those things to and to be received and to be understood and resonated with. There was a lot of healing in that. And in that process, too, of course, it moves a lot of energy. It shifts a lot of things in the consciousness because now the experience is given. The physical reference has been made, and now the physical anatomy, everything in creation starts to move back into oneness. The physicality is always constantly trying to move back into harmony. So any point in time that you make a jump or a leap consciously, the physical body is so right there behind you trying to make that jump with you. However, all the belief systems, the programming, the conditioning, the blocks, and the density in the physical body halter and hinder your physical body from completing that process fully. Thus, you are going to witness and observe yourself in so many different ways on many different levels of consciousness, depending on where you are at that point, observing yourself go through this massive catalyst. In many ways, to where you are tested and your physical body is having to go through a lot of walls and jump a lot of leaps because of how delayed it's been. And a lot of it's both recording of physical experience to be able to point and reference this energy from the etheric into a physical means, thus anchoring it. However, when we don't have this experience, when we don't have this physical anchor of that experience, it creates a different storm, so to speak, internally, where a lot of awareness is coming in, a lot of senses and discernment, intuition, different feelings and emotions, but a lot of it's just ethereal, a lot of it's energetic, but it has no physical means of anchoring itself or being resonant to a physical experience to provide that full anchoring of the intellect for the human being to understand what is happening. And this is a big process that I have been going through in a very intense steroid filled way, I feel, to really describe it at this point. It has been jacked up to like the highest extreme in my opinion. And I don't have control, which is one of the things that are like really pissing me off and stressing me out in the last 2 days, is the amount of control and self-control that I have, what you would say, I guess, in a lower means perfected and got really good at doing. However, with a lot of the changes and the shifts in my consciousness and just with me allowing certain experiences that I absolutely was in full rebellion of before, this changes the entire dynamics, the whole foundation that my ego is based off of, because it totally was connected to every experience I had. Now that I am getting to the point of allowing experiences I have never had in this physical lifetime and giving space to that, giving awareness and focus to that, and actually opening up vulnerably to that, it is shifting so much of my consciousness and also sending my ego for a massive loop. Because everything that I prided myself on and was really good at, the self-control, self-sustaining, self-maintaining, a lot of that was based off control. So a lot of that has to be relearned organically, which is still my nature. It's still my essence. So there's nothing wrong with that. But I had to learn a higher way of going about being that. and not just being programmed and controlled, programmed to sustain, programmed to maintain myself. What is the organic perspective of that? What's the organic experience of that? That does change in every moment where I wouldn't hit these walls whenever a situation or condition doesn't meet my expectations. See, that's the tricky part. And getting so good at observing myself and being aware of my energetics, my ego has created a lot of overlays in a lot of ways, just using my own discernment against me, my own awareness against me, and getting me to go into these loops of panic and anxiety and escapism. And it's a very good place to really express to the collective today too, because I feel as these emotions keep rising and as we keep releasing and purging and transforming and healing ourselves, I just did a trauma masterclass course, and the amount of healing and expansion that I received from that definitely catapulted me to a whole nother space within myself. But now that my ego no longer has trauma as a scapegoat, like a scapegoat, it no longer has trauma as like the card it gets to play as a reason or excuse to evade something, to not be vulnerable, to shut down, go more into control, to lock up, be defensive, dip out, don't be seen, don't be heard. And I have, and this is, and you can see the frustration coming out of me, where it's like, I am so aware, and the divinity in me is not playing games with my ego, but my ego has had far too much reign in this lane for too long. And so it literally is that surrender. It's the letting go, and the ego literally like just cringing from losing this power over that I've had over myself and my own experience and my own expression, and having so many freaking reasons and justifications for why that is. And it sounded so good at that time, and it allowed me to do so many things at that time, which it was probably highest. We are never fully embodied right now. We're not. Nobody on this planet is. And so there's a lot of different folds, because we are so quantum, we are so multidimensional. There's a lot of layers within ourselves we fully have to stand in and experience totally to even understand that part of ourself, which is so unlike every other aspect of ourself. So of course there's going to be so many layers you go through where you've probably met the same lessons so many times over and over again, but now this lesson is powerful. It means something, and it's going to totally change everything now, because you worked all the higher layers of it. You worked through all the different lanes that it's gone down and festered into. Now you're at the core part of it. And that bitch right there has been sitting there for a long time, just generating and generating and generating constant dysfunction, or different lanes of the dysfunction can keep surviving within your being, to give yourself reason to accept it into your life, to give you reason to accept that this is part of my reality. This is who I am. It's okay. You're identifying with it. However, when that breakdown comes, and as we were reading through a really amazing book today, and it was expressing a lot of things about, just the DNA and the different codings inside the DNA and how that works in unison with the quantum, multidimensional vessel, your DNA, how quantum that is, and it connects etherically to creation, energy, period. It helps animate the body. It is the thing that animates the body. And yet so much of our information, our essence, is coded, literally engraved in our DNA structure, to where that is our responsibility and full accountability to cultivate and realize the higher truth, the higher idea, the higher aspect of divinity in everything that is in existence now. And if you realize, nothing down here on this planet is good or bad. Everything simply is a reflection of the energy, but the energy itself, all of it, everything you see, touch, hear, and taste in this world has a higher idea, has a higher truth, has a higher version of itself. So it doesn't actually make it bad, doesn't actually make it what we've made it into. Everything is divine, because everything has been created from God. How we've used it and done things with it, that's not God. But that's why I'm saying everything that we are used to and familiar with in this world has a higher truth, a higher idea, a higher form of itself, where it is divine. So therefore, we can't just cancel things out. We can't just like choose things don't exist anymore, because they always will. However, are they going to exist in the higher or the lower form? That's really how deep it goes with this, and that's where I've really been just navigating myself these last 2 days through this massive insanity, this whole complete short circuit that I've been going through, where literally everything is breaking down in the worst way, according to my ego, to the point where I honestly don't know where to go with it next. And I don't know who Salvador is, but you should probably get on stream. It's really important. This is the energy that where I've just been navigating so much to the point where I don't know where this is going. I don't know what's happening or what it's turning into, And these are the things that really I'm stuck at, mostly with wanting to know, and I had so much pride I've had to transform, over the years with wanting to know. And then getting good at knowing things, getting so good at just tapping in and figuring it out, and just because I was so self-important. Yes, thank you, angels. That is important to say. I was very self-important, and I was also very, just lone wolf. Just I don't need anybody to help me. I'll just figure out myself. So of course I figured out in a lot of those ways. However, in that I've stolen a lot of opportunities and experiences for myself where I've jaded my own awareness in a lot of ways. Where it comes personally to myself. Getting so good at observing and understanding and reading the energetics in other people down to a T, to the point where that's where my ego was recording and learning so much of how I could hide myself from myself and constantly go through a lot of other different dysfunction and just reference to justification. It's not really real. And so, I've had to deal with this new form of mutation that the ego has done over the last couple of years of being with God, and I guess having that higher experience, but also the ego was recording and learning and trying to come up with other forms of manipulation always, because it was still something in me that I was allowing, a space in myself that I was not looking at. And that had a lot to do with my human connection. Had so much to do with human connection as a whole. And I'm gonna tell you like how beside myself I have been these last couple months with how much I betted and guaranteed myself in delusion that a lot of these things that I didn't understand or hadn't had experiences of, because I was with God, because I was with Mom, they were null and void. I bypassed that part of the contract and I got to get out scotch-free, And it was such a bitter, painful kick in my gut, when Mom was ascended. And I realized when the energy started switching after Mom ascended and things started rushing back to me and I started spinning, I was like, what? Council, what is this? I had to go straight into council with that and figure out why the dynamics of just the energetics in the field, my vessel, everything was completely off the charts. It was going crazy. And there's a lot in that to where a lot of what Mom had said, it happened immediately as soon as she left off the planet, physically. And the amount of processing, the amount of things that I had to face again, that I had guaranteed myself so much for years that it was not going to be a problem anymore. Just get Mom on the starship. It's all good, gravy. I don't have to deal with it. And I was so good at just staying focused and that structure and control. And then it allowed me to do a lot of things from Mom, which I'm grateful that was highest. For me not to focus on that part of myself, not to go into that transformation right away, because with the ego and how aware it was and how rampant the manipulation was, that could have probably halted me even more on mission, serving Mom and being there for her in the moments that I'm so grateful that I was. And so of course we don't blame, we don't go into shame or guilt or judgments, because it is all for the highest at the right moment, and you don't get to choose that. Nobody does. Which means you don't get to judge. You don't get to have an opinion, because it's not about you and it's not according to you. at all. And that's where we really have to breathe and let go. Because we don't know what's going on. We don't know how it's going to happen, how it will come about, how it will transpire, and what the evolution of that will be, and why it needed to be an experience, and why there's 8 billion people here on this freaking planet that need to witness this thing actually go down. And yet here we are with our individual selves squirming and like just spinning about all these insane things that probably are very close to the experience of billions of other people. And yet nobody wants to say it, nobody wants to express it, nobody wants to show it, nobody wants to share about it, no one wants to even be it. To even evolve it to a higher idea. And that's why I was like I was spinning with myself. There's so many things that I've been going through lately. And these are tests, man. And it's such a kicker in my gut, man. Like I tell you, because I'm so good at energetic. I'm so good at like just doing all that stuff. And it's like when I hit this pocket, I'm just like, I feel like a freaking dumbass. I feel foolish. I feel awkward, inadequate. Like all these weird shit comes in. I'm like, what am I doing? Like this is not a veteran on mission. This is not how I'm supposed to be acting. This is not how I'm supposed to be being. I need to straighten my ass back up, like fucking get back in line. Like, and it's all this self-control started coming out, not allowing me to go through this organic process that clearly was the child in me trying to understand. And I was so cruel and self-chastising, my inner child, just trying to shove him back in and just like, wait a minute, like, whoa, things are out of line. They're not, the daily routine, all these different things. And it's like, after the trauma left and after I've really transformed and purged so much of that out, I have been realizing and witnessing within myself this massive clean slate, this massive open canvas that's so clean, it's so open, it's like air, fresh air that can breathe in off the ocean coast and not a single impurity in it. And it makes my body feel so completely crazy. Because the idea, when you spend your life trying to arrive to a place or feel for what's home to you, what feels safe to you, what feels calm to you after not feeling calm your whole life, and you start to feel that, and you realize that so much of the pain and suffering is now finally out the way to where you're starting to experience those parts of yourself internally where it made me so uncomfortable. Because I'm so used to buckling down, defending against, pushing back, revolting, rebelling. I'm so used to there being an external force coming down on me that makes me just rebel or explode or push to my limit, compete, challenge, revolt, overthrow, all these different things. I'm so used to that being my motivation in life to where in 3D reality, let's face it, there's a lot of that. And so it benefited me a lot just to be in that kind of mindset and energetics, just to really excel myself. But now that I'm reaching the calmer, more tender parts of myself, the gentler, kinder parts of myself where the child really exists and lives within me, I'm starting to feel that more, the innocence, like the magic, the calmness, where there isn't the reaction, the reflex isn't there. And that's spinning my ego even more, that there's no basis for my reactions and reflexes and different controls anymore. I have no basis for it. It doesn't equate. It doesn't resonate anymore. It doesn't vibrationally match me anymore, to where that's causing a massive short circuit within my entire being of, okay, I can't go in denial. I've been in this game way too long to the point where I absolutely refuse to go into fantasy and denial about this. So therefore, the only next step is to accept it, which changes the dynamic because I don't know where to go now. And it's all so new on so many levels. I'm talking about my senses, my feelings, the emotions, the urges, the different pings I get to do. Everything is shifting so much into almost like a whole different version of me that I've never experienced or felt before. And it actually scares the shit out of me. To be quite honest with you, it actually scares the shit out of me. Because I'm used to knowing. I'm used to figuring things out quickly and just staying ahead of the energy, being prepared. So when I find myself in a space like this now, within myself, it is the most dumbfounding feeling I probably have ever felt in my life. Just completely discombobulated, all over the place, scattered, completely just beside myself. Because I'm not going to go back to the dysfunction. And now that I found freedom and release from the dysfunction, it actually feels so good. And I can breathe more. I'm not going to go back to the dysfunction, but that's the only thing I know. That's the only thing that's familiar to me. So therefore, I feel this pull back and forth within myself, myself, where the divinity wants to come in, the expansion and the anchoring of that wants to come in, but out of the fear and the panic and the paranoia of what has always been. And now that I'm done with that, it's like there's nothing to base it off of. I literally have to step into this now fully of faith, blind, not able to see how this whole thing's going to play out. And that makes everything in me within my self-control completely just explode. Because I've already chosen it. I've already set my decision, my choice on it. So now the energy's coming. And now I feel the pressure. I feel that I've been spinning for the last couple of hours, just watching my ego go absolutely mad within myself. And every time I try to bring something up, every time I try to attach to something or ping or push myself into disassociation, I stayed centered with myself through these last couple of hours, and I sat there like, nope, center, pull it back. And I just observed my ego do any and all things within myself, pinging, grabbing shit from 3 years ago, all kinds of stuff, trying to reason with me that the best option for me was to move back into familiarity because this is just too uncomfortable. And so I've had to sit myself the last couple hours and just really just keep recentering, keep pulling myself back into the center, feel into it, express, okay, acknowledge it, I accept, yeah, it might be that, but okay, let's keep moving, and just keep soothing myself and talking myself through the process because I know it's gonna be the inevitable. I'm gonna arrive to this truth at some point, so it's in my lap now, just go through it. The whole point of going through the whole sabotage, and then that was something definitely I was fighting with earlier too, was the amount of awareness, the amount of scope that my awareness has at this point, and how much I've been trained with mom. I remember mom saying this to, to the team, not long ago that, you guys gotta really get it. Talking to the team, she was like, you guys have been trained too well. And if you don't get this, you're not gonna make it to the starships. Meaning she trained us so well that the ego had such a big scope of what it observed God train us on, that was fucking with a lot of us. It was fucking with me. And the amount of sabotage that wanted to come through me, and like the things that if I just let go and move back into that fight or flight mode, I know so easily I would burn these bridges to the fucking ground. Who knows where I would be after that point, but I would achieve my goal of making sure nothing was left of it. And that's the epitome of how deep my self-hatred goes and how much I refuse anything I don't know out of pure fear of the child that literally just had to learn how to survive and defend itself from literally being like this big. Like literally, like child that big has to learn how to like defend itself against the world. And the amount of my distrust, how deeply that goes, to the point where, I've just been really fighting myself. And I'm strong, I'm stable. I am so grateful for mom, training me and getting me to the point so much with integrity and awareness, to the point where even now in these moments, now that she's physically ascended, as I stumble into these awarenesses and these transformations, I'm not backing out. I will not live a life of denial. I will not live a life of delusion or fantasy or more pain and suffering. After seeing what she went through, I will not dishonor mom like that. I will not disrespect the work mom did on this planet just for some self-important pity of the ego. Which only amps up my frustration and aggravation even more because I'm going to push through it. And of course, it's nothing I really want to do at this point. I don't feel comfortable. I don't feel good doing it. I don't feel secure. Very trusting of it. And it's wild. It's so wild and open and vulnerable. It is like pressing in on me in so many ways that I just don't know what to do about it. And I've been in such a childlike organic state today, just walking around, just talking. I've been very chatty today. And I'm grateful for Jerry just sitting with me for long moments. Just listening and just talking with me about different things. And there's a lot of things that just, not ever giving that ever an experience, not ever giving that a voice in my life, in myself, you realize how much builds up. And it doesn't matter if you do it 20 years ago or 20 years later now. The same amount of energy that came to you still has to be expressed. Doesn't matter if it's a overdue date. And that's the bizarre thing. It's like so many of these things I felt years and years and years and years ago. And I never once said it. I never once shared it with anyone. It was locked in the vault. To the point where now I'm arriving at it like long, long years later. And the same thing now still wants to come up and still be acknowledged. Still be voiced. Still be seen and heard. And it won't let go until it's done. That's the bizarre thing where we try to come up with so many different ways to cut ourselves off or just to make it easier. And it's the same amount of work still has to be achieved no matter if you make it a longer road for yourself or a shorter one. That's the truth. And so, at this point in the game, this point on mission, I'm not about wasting time. I'm not about just spinning around the bush for another year. Let's see if it just wears off. I'm so past that shit. To the point where I'm it's getting, I have to watch my seriousness because I have a high level of seriousness with this stuff, and it doesn't allow the childlike innocence to come in, which makes it very hard for me to even accept things in a more tender, kinder way. It comes in very harsh, critical, and, condescending in a lot of moments, which isn't fair. It's not love or respect to myself. It's not. And, so definitely the sabotage energies of just being aware of a lot of things and then trying to get ahead of it, of an experience that is coming, and completely bypassing the fact that God is allowing this, completely bypassing the fact that this is highest, this is part of the divine plan in these moments. But because I don't want to surrender, how easily it was for that sabotage energy to come so quick to the surface where I had to literally pull back. Because with a word, I could destroy everything. It would take a certain amount of words, key choice words, and it would destroy everything. That's how sad that is. How calculated, how ready at the gunpoint that energy is just to fire away and burn everything down to save itself. Purely for self-preservation. That's so selfish. And that's what Mom called me out on a lot on mission. My self-importance. And self-importance is a big energetic. It has nothing to do really just with being self-important. It's your self-preservation is a massive self-importance. And that's where I definitely was in a lot of ways. Wanting to maintain this external facade. Maintaining this energy outlook that I wanted everyone to buy and just accept. And it was self-important. I just put so much energy and focus into my own security, my own self-preservation, to save myself, defend myself, to make it look so good that it could be bought or sold to anybody, while I dealt with all the internal flaws that I was not ready to show people. That's so self-important. Not letting people see my lower moments, not letting people see me go through the shit. And actually see what that looks like. See what George looks like going through that experience. And I want to maintain this George can do anything and George can just do that. It's I just want to maintain that thing because I just always want to be relied on, depended on. I never wanted anyone to think I was weak. I never wanted anyone to think that I couldn't do something. I always wanted to be ready at the ready, and I just want someone to ask me to do it, I would do it. And Mom called me on that shit too. Completely. Being the yes man. And it was massive, conditioning I just developed at trying to wanting to be relied on, depended on so much that I would jump immediately if someone asked me anything. It didn't matter what it was. It was oh, yes. And and Mom had she got me one day, she was where's George at? And I was like, yes, Mom. And she was oh, George, you're the yes man. So you say yes one more time, I will rip your head off. And I was what? I was it was yes, Mom. Thank you. I was so I just completely bleh, just went completely fried because I was going to say yes, Mom. And it was wait, no, I said not to say yes. Don't be the yes man. You know, I was always saying yes, yes, yes to everything, but it wasn't me feeling, it wasn't me receiving. It was just like trying to like bounce it back and just to be a puppet for people that I got so used to doing. It's not fucking about other people. It's not about me, you know? And that amount of pride in myself to save my own image of whatever I wanted people to see because I was so scared of what they would think or say or what they would gossip about or talk about, you know, if they saw these other parts of myself that necessarily weren't probably everybody's favorite, you know, or, you know, a lot of myself is very intense, you know, and I watch how that intimidates people or makes people kind of weary of me and I kind of shy off. And then I got really good at just like hiding it, figuring out ways just to like, well, this I'll be here, but then like I'll watch myself. So how like this shapeshifter that just walk around and depending on what energy I'm bouncing off, it just shape shifting and like giving people what they want, saying the words that they want to hear just to please them so they'll be happy with me so I'm not rocking the boat. So I'm not stepping on glass with these people so they can feel comfortable around me. It was such this like nanny fucking maid energy trying to run around, clean up after everyone, just trying to please people. It's like, fuck off with that. Never once brought me an amount of joy, happiness at all. Why? Because it's just dysfunction. It is such a lack of me suppressing my own self, suppressing my own experience, not receiving, not allowing love in, not allowing support, not allowing the loving touch of anybody. To the point where it created such a lust, such a catatonic, destructive force inside, to where it was everything that I fucking sought after in life. It was in every freaking action and word that I did. It was like seeking that from people, but yet I had this gameplay with my ego where it's like I would seek it so hard, yet I would refuse it so hard. So like keep me on this rubber band, back and forth, never being fulfilled, yet feeling such lack. Never being fulfilled, feeling such lack, and just keeping me driving this insane, intense creature, literally just on impulse control now because I've been so suppressed. Yet I refuse anything coming in. The biggest contradiction ever within my own self, my own contradiction to expansion and life and love. Go figure that. So coming to this point, you know, today with just where I'm at right now in this process, you know, I've made it through the worst of the spin, I feel, at this point. With whatever I have now stumbled upon and arrived at within myself, the spin is now subsided, grateful, you know. And you can just feel, you know, the stillness trickling in. You can feel the subtleties becoming more solid. You know, I feel my root chakra completely just like disorientating, completely moving around so much today. And, you know, it's the new template. It's, you know, I literally am observing and witnessing my own body rewrite itself completely, energetically, all the way up, you know, and move itself into a whole nother channel of different patterns within my DNA that I allow now in my experience because I've realized and I'm aware of it. So I've opened myself up now intentionally, which causes that to actually move in. The unawareness, the unconsciousness, that's what stops these processes. You have to be aware of your expansion, your healing, the other parts of yourself coming online, or they can't fully come online. You have to be able to witness it on some level. And I have had the most resistance, you know, to this particular part of my expansion and, you know, being, you know, because I always knew like how much and how impactful, you know, my life has been in so many ways. You know, the physical touch, the physical healing, the physical affection of love, and what we would call human connection. You see, I am a very, very sensual, physical, affectionate person. To where in my life it's been very, very hard for me to go through these massive different phases, you know, where The only moments I really allowed that touch at a certain point after, somewhere in my childhood, and I did start very, very early because of the abuse and trauma that I faced as a child. You know, as a child, very early on, I left that mostly to sex. As a child, that is where I based and pretty much left all that to. And I only allowed myself to really experience those things during sex. To where it created a massive issue for me becoming an adult. Being so closed off, not really being used to having friends or relationships and things, to where that was really the only physical experience I based that off of. Then you tie into the collective consciousness of how much everyone is very condescending and demeaning and judgmental, and there's belief systems, there's religion, all these different things about sex, how sex is performed, how it goes about, all these different things. And yeah, I dug a hole quite deep, full of justification and, validation, of course. However, there's so much truth in that too. How quickly we try to bypass and look at all the drama, look at all the stuff that we deem bad so quickly. It's like crack, literally. You're there, addicted to it, obsessed with it. However, the truth, the real reality, the life that's happening, the real love, those moments, it's like getting blended in and like lost. And the dysfunction that everyone gets attached to or just wants to focus on, that just wants to talk about all this stuff. You are still living and breathing through that experience. You're still part of God. You are a living soul in a physical vessel. That is pretty much every bit of love that God is. You're a fragment of her. So you're really going to tell me that the entire time that was just pure dysfunction, nothing was real in that? Yet that gets so quickly lost in the fray of things because we're so used to just being about the dysfunction, the drama, the things that everyone feeds off of in the lower frequencies, because they're scared of the truth. They're scared of, well, maybe that wasn't completely just false. Maybe there was something real in there. Maybe there was realness in that whole experience. Where our self-judgment, our self-criticism is so deep, we'll write it off completely. Obsolete. Move on. Where life is incredibly multidimensional. It's not linear that way. You cannot just do it with a clean, okay, yep, moving past it. There are so many layers in that one experience that you have just completely deemed as bad. And you are not looking deeper into the core findings of that experience. And this is the depths we have to get to, humanity. We will get to this depth and much, much deeper before we reach 5D. And being able to witness and observe these things in ourselves, but also express and talk about them. And to connect and resonate with each other on them, because they are part of human reality. You are human, and you're a part of this reality. Therefore, you are just as responsible and accountable for every single energetic on this planet that we are currently dealing with, whether it's part of your life experience or not. Because you are in the same collective reality, making you a key part of this entire ascension process. Meaning you have to be in unity with the rest of the form, the rest of the collective. So everyone in the collective is fully responsible and accountable for everything entirely that is existing in human reality right now. And you don't get to say, well, I would never do that. Well, that's not my own. Well, then I only got these two and not that one right there. It's like, no, all of it's yours too. All of it. On some level, whether it's probably 1% or 80%, you got it. You're connected to it. You are part of the experience in some way, whether you're helping that experience realize itself or helping be the catalyst to push that experience up. You are part of this process. Ding. And, this gets, us to a point in ourselves where we really have to be authentic and real. And that will drive the ego absolutely nuts. Absolutely. Because at this point, it's like, all right, game's up. You got nothing left in your bag to really throw at this. No excuses. No way outs at all. So while you go through this process and surrender, I realized this percolating energy try to like this come up. It's like this massive time capsule that's been on delay for so long, and it just wants to create corruption, wants to corrupt things, and it's like it comes out of this deep unworthiness that you really don't deserve love, you really don't deserve, beautiful moments and things, to where it will find a reason to corrupt it. It will find a reason why it's not good, why you don't need it, why it's you can do better, like some reason to bypass. And that corruption definitely is something palpable I've been experiencing the last couple of days, and closely resides with the sabotage. I've watched it blend with that energy a couple of times, and just really have to stay with yourself and observe yourself, through the whole process, and allow yourself to be reborn. And that's what's happening. You are being reborn, but you're being reborn, in a fucking cesspool ocean of density down here and dysfunction, where it's so easy because you have been familiar with the dysfunction down here, that while you are being reborn through this process, it requires you to be so present and aware of yourself in this moment to safeguard the child, to parent, basically the child. You are your protector. You are your child's parental figure right now in these moments. To where this is where the guidance system, where it should have probably been, at some point, this is like the reoccurrence of the experience where, the child is guided by the parents and the parents teach the child, growing up, how this completely did not happen for any of us on this planet, to where we are having to reoccur this process internally and thus reflect it out into the physical experience, which requires you to go through this rebirthing process internally, and also internally as a parental figure to yourself, parent yourself through this process, which is something, again, you did not have as a child growing up. So we are recreating that whole process over, clearing it, and moving on to where you now have a physical anchor in this reality now of watching, observing yourself be reborn and guiding yourself at the same time through that process with the highest, best choices you could make. Nobody ever did that. Nobody has done that fully on this planet yet. That's why we need a mom. And thus, now we are getting to the point in ourselves where this is very much a process we are all about to go through. Get ready. It is not comfortable. It is not a fun process. It doesn't feel like a freaking $1,000,000 and rainbows and a pot of gold at the end of it. However, the amount of freedom, the amount of relief and ease the body is able to feel in these moments, for me personally in this experience, is beyond all gauges. I have been sitting in like these massive waves of bliss that have been hitting me solely from the pure feeling of just feeling the relief, feeling the clearing, feeling the space now where so much stuff was there. And I lived with it for so long, I just didn't realize that was there anymore. I didn't realize the uncomfortableness of it having so stuffed in there. But now that it's gone, now that I feel all this open air and open energy within my being, it's actually starting a panic. It's creating this panic because it's like, I don't know, there's nothing there, there's nothing I can externalize on, I can just like attach and control. It's gone. It's all gone. Which is sending my ego into this freaking spin drive that I literally have to allow and nurture and forgive and love myself, keep forgiving myself, keep allowing this newness to come in, whatever it's going to be. And thank God I have mom to trust in now. I am flying blind at this point on so many levels within my own internal recreation of itself, whatever that is, anchoring my higher self in, and the experiences that causes to my physical being that hasn't been to that point yet. It's a fucking exhilarating ride. And the nervousness, the anxiety, the sweats, the short breathing, all of it, my body's been going through it today, just completely, just the ego breaking down and smashing into walls that I just don't have any purpose for anymore. I have no reason to go into those anymore. So it's like there's no energy going to it. So the ego is completely exhausting itself and it's literally just flailing about, flipping out. And I'm just observing, like such, and like a whole nother space with this, like witnessing myself almost as two different selves, go to battle with this thing and really just watching the outcome, watching how it plays out, you know. And as long as I stay attentive with the true intention that I start out with, you know, releasing, forgiving, letting go, and all this, and stepping up, stepping into new, you know, spaces, it's gonna organically move back into harmony. It's gonna organically move back to mom. That's where the trust comes from, though. The faith is that it is on the trajectory back to God. No matter where it takes me, it's gonna go back to her. And having that end result, having that awareness of where I will end up with it is with mom, helps soothe me and give me more security and trust in just letting go and letting it be whatever it's going to be. Because I really don't have anything to go on at this point. It hasn't been lived by me. I haven't experienced it. I never let it in. And of course, by contract, it was probably to experience all the other things. All the lowers that are completely devoid of not having that experience. What life really is being void of that experience. I've done that. I took it on, forgiven myself, did it for God. I'm grateful. It still doesn't mean that I'm not deserving of it now. It still doesn't mean that I don't have to learn how to actually have that experience now. It doesn't mean I don't have to learn how to really receive love and go deeper into the parts of myself that I know are the biggest parts of myself. That's why I shut them off, because it was so painful and hurtful knowing and aware of what I am, yet the world's not ready for it. My experience is not ready for it. It's not divine timing yet for it. It's a lot of pain opening that back up now and realizing how much aggression and forcefulness and control at the time when I locked this up in myself, how much I really pushed on myself. Because now that I'm opening up and I'm feeling myself and I'm really sensing all of it, I literally can register and feel the specific different moments when this was trying to come up through earlier parts of my life and I completely was abusive. I was completely self-critical and demeaning to myself. Anything I could do to break myself down and sabotage the release of it and to push it back down. And so a lot of the things I'm dealing with right now is my own self-forgiveness for my own self-hatred that I've lashed out on myself my whole life. And a lot of them, it's aggravating to accept at this point that most of them didn't even have a base for it. There was no purpose, and it was literally just a behavioral reoccurrence of the pattern that I was just so used to doing, because I just did it anyways. So the painful part of just realizing that there were things that I did towards myself and self-inflicted that didn't even have a reason. I just did it to be ugly to myself because I just could not accept that things would be better. So then I wouldn't give myself any chance of even experiencing that or feeling that, because disappointment was the worst of the two for me. Sabotage or disappointment. I rather sabotage things in my life than to find out later that it wasn't going to be what I thought it was going to be. To end up broken, misled, in pity, victim consciousness. I rather sabotage it now and get rid of it versus finding out that it probably was that true, you know. And that's where I would go with it all the time. And I got so used to just not caring, which allowed me to sabotage it, which allowed me to stay far away from a lot of certain experiences now that have completely exploded into my house of my vessel. The windows, the door, everything is open and it's flooding in and I can't stop it. You know, to where it requires me just to surrender, to forgive, to love myself, and to move myself into this new space, rebirth myself into a new way of being and do it correctly with love, the way God showed me, the way God taught me through taking care of God. How I loved her, how I took care of her, how I held her, and I was very attentive to her. She taught us all these things so we could finally fucking give it to ourselves. Because I absolutely had no idea how to do that for myself, give that to myself, but I was really good at doing it for others. And I did my best work serving God. And I still never gave any of that to myself, which is the redundancy of how that equal energy exchange will come crashing back into your face because you do have to accept that. And especially after giving that to God for so long, you better accept it now. Because you cannot give what's not yours. And if you've been giving for a long time and you haven't been receiving, the debt is up. Now it's time to receive magnitudes of things that you have just constantly been giving. The receiving part is your next test. And you will have to surrender. You will have to accept, you will have to acknowledge how deprived, how suppressed, how depleted you have made yourself in this life solely out of your own fears. And all the blame and projection that you made upon everyone else and God herself for your unhappiness solely was your choice. That's the awareness I'm sitting in right now. And really looking at all these things that I refuse to accept. And they are the epitome of my unhappiness. Because these are things that would bring me joy. These are things that I have spent, I can tell you like how many years I've spent dreaming about a certain life where I have certain things as a part of my life, people in my life, my lifestyle, how I would be in that life. And I kept it as a dream, a fantasy, because I never thought I was actually physically going to find anything like that down here, much less all of it in one. And I did. That is the most profound, dumbfounding thing that I'm finding myself in this last week. And it was funny because I saw this thing on Instagram the other day. It was like, at this point in your life, one of the prayers that you have prayed so hard for in your life, you're living it right now. And that just like, it took me back. It's like, you're so right that we've asked for a lot of things in this life. Prayed for a lot of things, blamed God and begged God for a lot of things in this life. And I never once stopped to really feel into, it's like, have I arrived to one of those prayers at this point? Anywhere in my life, after how long I've lived and what I've gone through, have I even arrived to a single one of those prayers? Or did I forget about what that prayer was because I moved on to something else? Have I forgotten myself and what I have been asking for to the point where I'm living it in front of my face and I don't even realize it? Because I lost the meaning. I lost the purpose in it. The value in that. I spoiled it so I couldn't even see in front of my face. I made it seem so detriment to my existence to the point where I was so blind that it was sitting literally in front of my face for so freaking long. Stupid. That's how I feel. The family I always wanted. You know, the attachments I've had to my family, my brothers and sisters, my mom, my father. And the father's a whole special topic. Jesus. There's a lot of things that I have sought after. And after experiencing so much lack and depravity and a lot of lanes of human life and connection that I actually resonate more with. The physical contact, really knowing and sensing and being with someone. All people. It had nothing to do with a relationship. It had nothing to do with being a significant other. That's a natural just form of my nature that I just am wired for. And I guess, I don't know, all the people in Earth are probably like it, you know? So it's probably like the next step in human evolution. But people's scent, the way they smell, the way they sound to my ears, their voices, the way they feel when I touch them, all these different things, these are the deeper parts of the human experience that have been so lost and convoluted and betrayed by humanity itself for total self-preservation and fear. And belief systems of the yin-yang, because they can't accept the fact that they are so physically here, they bypass all physical senses. They bypass all physical interaction on so many levels that they have rules and regulations and policies and different do's and don'ts and taboos. When physicality is the purest part of this physical experience. It's the most raw and the most authentic, most real part of this physical experience is the physicality. Before any thought, before any idea or anything touches it, it is physical. It's real, it is in reality. That is done by God. before any human interaction or ego tampering with that happens. Now, however, we have all these different layers of rules and different things in the way now about the physicality that God put there first in the first place. To where now we're beside ourselves. We're completely just debating and arguing with our own selves over our own physicality of why we can't just be physical and real with each other and love each other and be in each other's spaces with true intentions, with love and respect and integrity and honesty. Why is that so lost? That's been another frustration of mine over these years. It's just like knowing my nature and how I am designed by God and realizing that there's so much in the way of that in this human experience. It literally like disgusts me sometimes how superficial I even allow myself to be just to like blend in with what's going on. It's like, this is so like blah. Like I want to live. I want to like feel and express and like be in the moment. And it's all like this calculation, like it's like, it's stop, you know, like it literally go crazy over this stuff. And yeah, this is just really my full transparency of where I'm at in this experience and understanding myself, my contracts, and just where the higher forms of the evolution is taking me. And I remember now, the angels bring back to my awareness, a month ago I did write and sign contracts for all higher contracts. You know, I completely accepted those. So now that's a good idea because, you know, now things make sense because my experience since then has been pretty chaotic and intense. So there's mom for you. You know, you do things and you forget you do them, and then like you're living the experience of it, you know. So yeah, I did that a month ago. I did a ceremony, and I had agreed to all higher contracts that were highest for me at this point in time, and told the angels to bring it on. And now it's just funny realizing that you're going through all the deep shit, and you realize, well, you did say yes to this, like back here, it's like the angels always love to like, well, you know what, well, you accepted this, well, like you did say yes to this experience. Like they like just like give you that like that little core truth that you're just like, yeah, you're right, okay, I'm just blaming myself, it's my own projection, thank you, and you just surrender, you just go through it. And this experience has massively been a whirlwind for me. Definitely, it's still not over. And and I was even projecting onto my timeline today. I was like, I'll probably knock out after live stream today. I'll probably just go lay out and like just die on the grass or something like that. I don't know. It's just like, take me out, something, And it's just like this childish not wanting to like allow myself to be. It's like it's so new, it's so open, it's too raw and real, and it makes everything in me and my self-control want to run. To the point where like it's getting to the point where it's like all right, I sat with this all day. I've heard the thoughts, I felt the feelings, the emotions, I've transformed the shit, I've moved it. It's like, at what point am I really just gonna be like, all right, make a choice? What's that choice? And of course I'm gonna choose mom. Of course I'm gonna choose expansion. Of course I'm gonna choose growth. Because at this point, to choose anything other than that, I know within the core of my being it's the most stupidest choice to make. And I will eat myself alive knowing I'm going to bypass that choice or choose a lower choice or sabotage it in some way. I will eat myself alive at this point doing that. I can't do it. I can't bear it at all. Like, I only want truth. I only want real at this point. My heart cannot bear any more of the suffering. And I just want to live and love and be free, which is something I've never really allowed myself just to really be, and how free and just like loose and childlike I've been the last 2 days I've been going through hell. That experience has really shown me that the more I open up, the more I just allow the chips to fall where they fall, that is the most freeing for me, where I'm not moving into calculation or trying to observe and analyze everyone around me and try to be ahead of them, try to make sure that like I'm out of range if something goes down. It's like this point I'm coming to where like I just don't care anymore about that, because that's what's been partly driving me insane the whole time anyways. And realizing that I just want to be okay. You know, I just want to feel okay. I just want to be okay. And if all the pain and suffering is not letting me be that, then I'm ready to be done with it. I'm ready to move it out the way. And, you know, for you all, you know, definitely out there, you know, all this trickling out, you know, this is your come to Jesus moment, I would call it, you know, in my life. Like my teacher, my economics teacher in high school, like had this, you know, that saying. She's like, all right, we're gonna have a come to Jesus moment. And that was usually like when she's like, all right, I'm tired of the bullshit. Like we're gonna talk some real stuff right now, like off the books. Like I'm not a teacher, you're not a student. We're just gonna be real with each other. And that was like, I always appreciate those moments with her. And she's like, all right, boo, come here. We're gonna have a talk to Jesus moment. I was like, yes, all right, cool, real moment, you know, and that was really like the deep nuggets that I would always get from her, where she was literally just a human being. Didn't matter if I was a child in high school or anything like that. She was a human being and I was a human being. And it was like some real life shit that she would share with me. And I would just like completely I would just be like, wow, you know, thank you. They don't give this shit to you in school. Everyone's trying to be superficial. Everyone's trying to be fake and be something else. And and I had this one teacher, her name was Miss G. She doesn't work at the school anymore, so you can't fire her. But she was the most badass teacher I've ever had in my life. And this black woman literally did not give a fuck what the school board had to say, what the principals had to say. She was just real. She was herself, and she loved children. She loved people who really were like struggling, you know, and she loved just to be that massive support, that motherly figure to those children. And I had so much respect for her, you know, to really, you know, a lot of feminine teachers in school, you know, just they didn't have children of their own, you know, maybe they had one, but it's like their motherly essence wasn't just bound to their own child. You know, they could extend that energy to the other children who had been so fucked up and destroyed in their parent home life, you know, to the point where they could come to school and there would be a woman there with motherly love and energy that they could actually talk to. Like the fact that you wanted to go to school just to talk to a teacher. You didn't give a fuck about their friends. You didn't give a fuck about anybody else at school. You didn't give a fuck about making it to school on time to be in class. You just wanted to get to school on the bus so you could see her, so you could actually like just heal. That was so massive for me, you know? And, you know, definitely like coming around this bend and, you know, letting myself just keep being vulnerable, keep expressing, keep letting it out. Don't, you know, like I reach a new level and it's like, okay, like, well, that was intense. Let's go back down. I was like, no, keep moving forward, because that intensity that you think is intense isn't even intense at all. It's just how much you've pushed yourself at this point, but you can go more. And that's where mom's like, she's like kicking my ass. She's like, you can fucking do more and you're being a bitch about it. You know, and I'm just like, you know, I got it. I'm doing my best, beautiful, and I'm surrendering. And that was always my problem, was just to surrender and just to like allow it. And like a lot of the things I would message mom about, spinning, you know, attached to and trying to figure out and stuff like, she's like, you're not surrendering. You know, meaning I wasn't allowing it. It was like I didn't want to allow it. It was like, no, it's bad. It's no, no. And it was, Jesus, the amount of just ridiculousness that we go through fighting God on the truth when it's God and it's the truth, and the point, at the end of the day, you're going to come back to the same fucking thing. And it's just your lack of surrender, your resistance, your thinking you know better, your control, your this and that gets in the way of where you can't actually see the beautiful gift and healing that mom is giving all of us. You know, and it's an essence of all that. You know, basically, this is the whole rewiring of everything for myself, you know. And I thought I hit rock bottom before, you know, and I definitely, it's kind of like a giggle that comes up because, like, mom definitely set this whole thing up because, like, you know, we had the experience the other night, you know, with the team and everyone was, like, sharing all this deep like love and things that I have never actually physically heard anyone on this team ever say to me, much less anybody else, to where that it created a whole nother reality for me that I had never allowed because it wasn't my experience. I never heard these things. I never heard them talk to each other like this. I never heard them say those things to me before. It was always fire. It was always like war. So it was like, this was like complete like flip of that, to where like because I heard other things that were different, it made me feel other things that were different, which changed my consciousness to a whole other thing that was different, which now caused a whole scattering because I wanted everything to be this. But now I can't deny. I can't go into delusion. I can't go into fantasy because it is real. So which now all this is shifting and moving around to the point where I find myself here today. After hearing all these beautiful, grand, beautiful things of how people see me and how they feel about me and how I have felt about other people on this mission that I have never actually physically said out loud to them. And actually getting that out to the point where now at this point it's like literally physically feeling like God has checkmate me, and I'm just like so dumbfounded by it. I can't escape it. I can't get around it. I can't evade it at all. I have been massively checkmated on the checkerboard, and I just have to surrender at this point. With the amount of awareness just from today, the energy coming in, and what's hitting the collective right now, is like, for me, my experience, like, I can't lie anymore. I can't manipulate or deceive myself anymore, and I can't just play pretend anymore, because that's also lying. And Mom doesn't like liars, and I've been really good about staying on myself and not letting that be an energetic that I go into. I like being transparent and vulnerable and real, but I also have a tendency to pretend in behavioral, physical ways, whether I'm walking around someone that I have, I don't want to look in their eyes. I don't want them to see me like freaking blowing up inside. So like, I just like, I look down, or like, I'll go into like a physical thing where like, I just do things. Sometimes I'll just I had no intention to pick up a phone, but then I'll just pick up the phone and start looking at it because someone that I don't want to like interact with is walking by, and I'll wait till they walk by and then I'll put the phone down. But there was no reason to have the phone, and that's pretending. And so that pretending in itself is lying. It's lying to myself. It's lying to everyone around me that like I'm choosing not to be vulnerable. That's lying, And I has like it's such a deep thing. You're really gonna catch yourself and be like, look, okay, you're not being a puppet for someone. You don't have to be or act or do anything for anyone else. Just be you. And if you look fucking crazy, it's okay. If you look fucking crazy. If they don't like that you look crazy, then maybe they're in pretending mode and they act like they don't go crazy sometimes. I swear to God, everyone goes crazy at some point, and you will if you don't think you have this point. So, that definitely is pretty much it for today. Grateful for everyone joining, and holding space. And these moments are going to get tougher. They're going to get more intense. They're going to bring massive amounts of emotion. What I shared with you all the other day on one of the live streams about the energy hitting now at this point and collectively what we are going to go through, the river stream of emotions has already been started and anchored in on Monday. And I haven't found any channeling about that yet, which is interesting, but that energetic hit the collective Monday. And so that is going to cause massive uplifts of emotions to release themselves involuntarily, complete without your choice. And then this is what you're going to crash into and have to reflect and transform and move through now. Because now it's really down to what's highest. There's a lot of dysfunction we have to get through, yes, but now it's down to what is actually highest for the collective to come up now for everyone. So it's pretty much Mom coming in and just pulling things up that she's picking out. It really has nothing to do with you or how prepared you are for it or how ready you are to face it. Mom's coming through now and she's calling the shots. You waited too long, you held off too long, you delayed your healing transformation for too long. To where Mom is that divine intervention. And she is pinging all these different things. All right, you're up. Pulling this number. Yep, come to the front, please. And you're having to experience and observe yourself now. Go through the emotions that we have been in so much resistance to do on our own. And now it's just happening organically. Thank you, Mom. But it still does not mean to disassociate with yourselves. You have to stay with yourself. Self-reflect, process, release, heal, look at it, feel it. And then it can be gone quickly. Let mom help you. Let mom move it out. But you do have to do your part and acknowledge it. Take acceptance of this responsibility. Because you cannot make it out of this scotch-free, okay? You are every amount of accountable as everybody else on this planet. So allow mom to assist you, and it will help you release so much from yourself, but you still have to choose that. Choose love, choose surrender, choose forgiveness, choose release, choose to let go. And then after that, let love handle all the details. That's one of the parts I seem to forget when I get into those spins, like, oh, what now? Just let love handle the details. Mom said that so much on Mission. There's so many moments mom just did not know. She's God. And there's moments where she just didn't even know what to do. She's like, I just let love handle all the details. I give it all to love. I let it go. Love will handle it all. I surrender. I trust. And I'm going to move forward. And that's a lot of what I just have to choose for myself at this point. I don't know. And even though it scares me, I know it's just the ego. So it really is just about trusting in mom, hearing those words that she said so many times, and just telling myself that every step of this way until I make it wherever I'm getting to, and just trust mom. Let go, forgive, keep having faith in mom. Let love handle all the details. I will arrive at some point, and it will be way better than what I've been through. And that I am so grateful for, and continue to give my whole every effort to. Because this mission is truly everything, and the human evolution and the ascension is everything at this point. It's mom's dream, home, 5D, everyone being there. This is what it takes. This is what it's going to take for everyone to individually embody their higher self and master themselves, and get to the point where we can all step into that circle as unity consciousness, as one, as everyone individually choosing that for themselves as well, which truly will be unity consciousness. All right. I love you all. Take care of yourselves today. Stay grounded. Drink lots of water. Ceremonies, write them out. Love yourselves. Move slowly. Be patient. Don't rush. Don't control. There's a lot of things we just don't know at this point. There's a lot of things you're experiencing for the first time at this point, and it's okay. And a lot of compassion and forgiveness is what's going to get you through it. All right. Take care of yourselves. Talk to your angels and talk to mama. Okay? Love you.